In the Underground Eclipse showdown, our fearless heroine, Amajiri Haruka, squared off against her mysterious masked adversary. The clash between them was so intense that you'd think they were auditioning for a superhero movie. Sparks flew, sweat dripped, and they paused dramatically at opposite ends of the arena, like they were waiting for their popcorn to finish in the microwave. Then they unleashed their meteor arts like they were summoning a pizza delivery. But oh, plot twist. Haruka's opponent got the upper hand and gave her the slice of defeat instead. As Haruka hit the ground, she probably muttered, "Sorry, Ayato, I guess I won't be making it to the finals." Fast forward to the end of the century and bam, Earth gets smacked with a disaster called the Inversia. Suddenly, it's like the world decided to go on a low-power mode. But fear not, the Integrated Enterprise Foundation steps in like the Avengers of bureaucracy. They create Asterisk, the ultimate arena for school rivalries, and even toss in some superpowered humans known as Genestella for good measure. Because who doesn't love a little extra seasoning on their popcorn? Now picture Ayato strolling through Saidukan Academy, minding his own business when he accidentally snags a pink handkerchief like he's catching a bouquet at a wedding. He gigs up to see none other than Julius Riesfeld and her unmentionables like something straight out of a rom-com. You can imagine Ayato's inner monologue. Is this the true meaning of love at first sight? Julius, however, didn't get the memo about rom-coms and immediately launches an attack with Amaryllis. Ayato's like, wait, what did I do? But Julius isn't having any of it. She's ready to duel, even if it means fighting a guy who can't even find his way around campus without causing a scandal. And so the epic duel begins. Julius throws flames, Ayato cuts them down like he's auditioning for a sushi chef role. But then, boom. One of those fiery explosions sends Ayato flying. He's doing his best acrobatics to stay on his feet, and Julius is raising her eyebrows like she's auditioning for a villain role in a soap opera. Julius starts suspecting Ayato might be more than just a fashionably late transfer student. She sends a blazing attack his way, and he does the unthinkable. He cuts his way through and lands right next to her. But instead of cutting her emblem, he does the chivalrous thing and pushes her to the ground to protect her from an arrow. And here's where it gets steamy. Ayato's hand slips, and well, let's just say he gets an unexpected handful. Julius is shooketh, not because of the duel, but because of Ayato's unique fighting style. Cue Claudia Enfield, the student president with a flair for dramatic entrances. She swoops in and invalidates the duel like a referee who's had enough of the drama. Claudia then takes Ayato on a whirlwind tour of the school and shares her secret dark side, only to drop a bombshell about the Festa tournaments. The winners get to make a wish, like they're rubbing a genie lamp. Claudia wants Ayato to win the Festa for her, but Ayato's like, tournaments? Pass. Claudia's all like, why did you even come here then? Ayato, ever the master of evasion, fires back with a question about his missing sister, Haruka. Claudia's all file? What file? And shows Ayato a digital scrap of Haruka's existence. Turns out, Haruka might have wielded the Orga Lux named Sir Versta, and that's where Ayato's curiosity peaks. Claudia spills the beans about scholarship students getting first dibs on Lux weapons, and Ayato's like, I want to see that. Claudia, the enabler, hands him a placeholder Lux for now. But oh, the twist. Ayato remembers the final transfer paperwork and Claudia's true intentions. She leans in close, making Ayato blush like he's auditioning for a teenage romance flick. But it turns out Claudia is just a prankster and there's no paperwork. Classic Claudia. Cut to Ayato's first class where he's seated next to Julius. He tries to extend the olive branch of friendship, but Julius is like, nah, I'm good. Meanwhile, their fellow student, Yabuki Aishiro, plays the class clown and spills the royal beans about Julius being a princess and a powerhouse Genestella. Ayato, the generous soul, hands over the Lux he received during the duel, impressing Aishiro. But Ayato's secret sauce. He recognized Aishiro's voice in the crowd. Smooth, right? Aishiro agrees and labels Ayato as the class's comedic relief. But wait, there's more drama. Lester MacPhail enters the scene, demanding a rematch with Julius like a kid who didn't get his ice cream. Julius, ever the fiery one, tells him where to stick his axe Lux. Aishiro explains that Lester's one of the Page 1 students and these two rivals are about as friendly as cats and water. Julius, determined to follow her destiny, asks Lester why he fights. Aishiro spills the tea that nobody knows and Julius doesn't care. She's got her eyes on the prize and Ayato's pondering life like he's auditioning for a philosophical documentary. And there you have it, the epic start of Ayato's adventure in Asterisk, where drama, battles, and awkward encounters await him at every turn. Cue dramatic anime opening theme. In a dreamy flashback, Amajiri Haruka shares a heart-to-heart with her younger brother, Amajiri Ayato. She imparts the wisdom that Ayato's incredible power can only be unlocked when he discovers his life's purpose. Ayato, ever the curious soul, asks if Haruka herself has found her purpose. Her response? She's here to protect him, which is like her own personal superhero mission. They share a heartfelt moment, and Ayato vows to protect her in return. Aw, sibling love. Ayato awakens from this touching dream only to find his roommate, Yabuki Aishiru, snoozing in the adjacent bed. Maybe Aishiru is dreaming of becoming a famous journalist or just the perfect cup of coffee. Who knows? Ayato decides to go for an early morning jog, pondering the events of the previous night when he stumbled upon a sundown chat between Julius Riesfeld and Lester MacPhail. Julius is like, "Why are you here?" And Lester's all, "Who are you?" Classic first day of school drama, right? But wait, there's more. Randy Hook steps in, playing the role of the concerned friend trying to defuse the situation. Lester, however, takes a more direct approach, raising his axe like he's auditioning for a medieval reenactment. Aishiru jumps into action, ready to capture the drama on camera, while Silas attempts to block his view. Julius, looking fierce, demands answers, and Lester finally walks away, leaving Julius to fume in peace. But Ayato's not one to let sleeping feuds lie. He asks Julius why she's here, fighting an asterisk, even though she's royalty. Julius, unapologetic, confesses that she needs cash, and the quickest way to fill her royal coffers is by conquering the Phoenix Festa. Aishiru, always in the know, wonders if Julius has found a partner, yet since the Phoenix Festa is a tag team gig. Ayato, inquisitive as ever, asks if Julius even has any friends. Julius, in a rare moment of embarrassment, admits she's a loner. Aishiru dukes out due to a pressing deadline, and as Julius starts to leave, Ayato stops her and asks for directions to the boys' dorm. Julius can't help but chuckle, and Ayato notes that Julius does have a sense of humor. Julius reluctantly points him in the right direction, but Ayato, with a grin, asks her to show him around Saidukan Academy and the city as a favor she owed him. She hesitates, but eventually agrees to give him a school tour the next day and a city tour on their next day off. Ayato's got some charisma hidden beneath that calm exterior. Back in the present, Ayato's jogging, smiling at the thought of the upcoming tours with Julius and reflecting on how his life has taken a thrilling turn. Later in the morning, Ayato and Aishiru stroll into class, and Ayato greets Julius, who surprisingly returns the greeting. The classroom goes wild because Julius never does that in public. Julius defends herself and takes her seat, while Ayato grins like he's won the lottery. But hold on, there's more drama brewing. A blue-haired girl named Sasamiya Saya, Ayato's childhood friend whom he hasn't seen in ages, suddenly wakes up. Ayato asks about her dad, Sasamiya Suichi, and she reveals that he's doing amazingly well, which is why she's here at Saidukan Academy, to promote the guns her father makes. Aishiru, the investigator, wants more info, but their teacher, Yatsuzaki Kiko, barges in and assigns Saya a makeup class for her previous absence. After school, Ayato and Saya chat about their childhood, and Ayato learns that Saya came to Saidukan to support her dad's gun business. Julius, overhearing, gets a tad jealous, but Ayato dismisses it and suggests that both Julius and Saya show him around. They reluctantly agree, and Ayato is the master of diplomacy. Julius takes Ayato on a tour of campus with Saya eavesdropping. Saya, who claims to have a terrible sense of direction, nearly sparks another argument with Julius. Ayato diffuses the situation by offering to fetch drinks, and the two girls settle down. While Ayato is away, Saya probes Julius about why she's showing him around. Julius spills the beans about their duel and its unexpected outcome. Instead of victory, they ended up with a void. Saya, not one to shy away from the truth, points out that neither she nor Julius can take on Ayato in a fair fight. Julius suggests a duel to settle it, but they're rudely interrupted by a hooded archer. Julius fires her long forearm attack, but it's blocked by another hooded figure with a spear. Saya, with her heavy artillery, takes out the second figure and even demolishes the fountain. The girls are soaking wet, and Ayato returns to this unexpected watery showdown. Ayato's reaction? Priceless. Back to business, Ayato helps Julius and Saya dry off. He mentions the mysterious sensation he felt during the confrontation, represented by purple chains. Julius explains that the Sharnagarm * police force can investigate within the school. Ayato also learns that Julius wants to protect what she can on her own. The next day, Claudia Enfield shows up and offers Ayato a tour too. Ayato's shocked, but Claudia quickly gets down to business, informing him about the Orga Lux weapon selection and compatibility test. Lester MacPhail, the other applicant, is waiting too, and it's a surprise party for Ayato. Inside the testing room, Claudia explains the process. Lester chooses Serve Arresta, a sane weapon with altered records. Ayato watches as Lester tries to impress the blade. But the sword has other plans. It's not keen on brute force alone. Ayato, driven by an inexplicable sensation, sees Serve Arresta point right at him. He approaches and a battle of wills begins. Ayato finally tames the fiery sword, earning a compatibility score of 97%. Victory is his. Later, Ayato sneaks into the girls' dormitory, landing on Claudia's balcony. She had requested his presence and he finds himself in her room. Claudia, fresh from the shower and sporting a bathrobe, welcomes him with a mischievous smile. What's on her mind? Well, that's a cliffhanger for another episode. In a surprising turn of events, Claudia Enfield invites Amajiri Ayato to her room to discuss a pressing matter. Ayato, being the polite and inquisitive guy he is, obliges. Little does he know, this conversation is about to change the course of his time at Saidukan Academy. In Claudia's room, Ayato learns about a troubling situation in the Phoenix Festa, a major ranking competition at the academy. Top students have been dropping like flies, and it's not due to bad cafeteria food. Nope, they've been attacked and seriously injured. Claudia's got her detective hat on and wants Ayato to play bodyguard for Julius Alexia van Riesfeld, the fiery redhead we've come to know. Ayato's scheduled city tour with Julius is looking more like a crash course in how to protect a princess. Speaking of Julius, she and Ayato bump into Lester and his gang during lunch. These fellas are prime suspects in the attacks, and it's like watching two rival gangs in an old Western showdown. Lester, itching for a fight, wants to settle things right there and then. But Ayato, being the voice of reason, convinces Lester that this isn't the time or place. It's all about timing, folks. On their way home, the plot thickens. Julius and Ayato encounter students from Le Wolf Academy dueling in a sketchy, isolated street. Warning bells go off in Julius' head. It's a trap. But before you can say plot twist, Julius goes full flame mode and roasts these hoodlums into a well-done crisp, leaving only their leader conscious. Turns out the leader hired them on behalf of a mysterious man lurking in the trees. Julius, her fiery determination unwavering, decides to chase after this tree-dwelling creep despite Ayato's sensible warnings. Almost falling into an ambush, she's saved by Ayato, who arrives just in the nick of time. But the attackers manage to do some damage. They destroy Ayato's Lux, his weapon, and ruin his jacket. Talk about an expensive fight. Julius, feeling responsible for Ayato's losses, invites him to her place. And this is where things get a tad bit interesting. When she asks Ayato to take off his clothes, our young hero's mind goes straight to Romanceville. But fret not, folks, it's not that kind of story. Julius just wants to mend his clothes as a gesture of gratitude. During this moment, Ayato discovers that Julius learned the art of sewing from her childhood friends back in her homeland. These friends were orphans she met while secretly exploring the town as a child. During one particularly dicey encounter with thugs, they came to her rescue, guiding her back to safety. Julius grew fond of these kids and continued to sneak out of the palace to hang out with them. What she didn't tell him, she was a princess. Surprise. Now Julius is fighting tooth and nail in the Phoenix Festa to secure funds for the orphanage, which is struggling to stay afloat. That handkerchief, the one that seems to cause a lot of commotion, it's her most cherished possession, lovingly embroidered by those orphans and given to her as a birthday gift. Cue the awe. The next day, Julius receives a mysterious letter and dashes off immediately after school. Ayato, initially thinking she's trying to distance herself again, soon learns from Claudia that Julius is likely trying to keep him safe and uninvolved in whatever's brewing. Before Ayato embarks on this new mission, Claudia equips him with his sister's old weapon. It's a reminder of the mysteries surrounding his family and the challenges he's yet to face. Buckle up, Ayato, your journey's just getting started. Julius Alexia van Riesfeld, our fearless fiery heroine, arrives at the designated location mentioned in the mysterious letter she received. But to her shock, she finds Silas Norman, one of Lester MacPhail's henchmen, waiting for her. Silas finally spittles the beans. He's the mastermind behind the vicious attacks on top students. Talk about a plot twist. Just when things couldn't get crazier, Lester himself shows up, thinking Julius has accepted his challenge for a duel. Silas, however, has different plans. He intends to eliminate both Julius and Lester, and make it look like Lester was the culprit behind the attacks. Silas releases an army of combat dolls, and the battle royale begins. Lester, unfortunately, is quickly overwhelmed and taken out of the fight. But Julius, with her formidable power, manages to hold her own against the relentless onslaught of dolls. It's like a scene out of a horror movie, but with puppets instead of zombies. Just when Julius is on the brink of exhaustion and defeat, our knight in shining armor, Amajiri Ayato, swoops in. He declares that Julius is now his purpose in life, which is both heartwarming and a tad dramatic. But hey, we love a good hero's entrance. As Ayato carries Julius, he defends her against the puppet army, analyzing Silas' attack patterns. With precision and power, he decimates the puppet horde, proving that he's a force to be reckoned with. Silas, realizing he's in deep trouble, tries to escape using a flying puppet. But Ardu isn't about to let Silas get away that easily. Julius, who can fly, lifts both herself and Ayato into the air to pursue Silas. They engage in an epic aerial battle, eventually knocking Silas out of the sky. Claudia Enfield, always lurking in the shadows, intercepts Silas on the ground. Before Silas can regain consciousness, mysterious chains appear and strike him down. It turns out that his sister had placed a restriction on his use of power just before she left, presumably to participate in the intense battle we witnessed at the beginning of the first episode. When Silas wakes up, he finds himself resting with his head on Julius's lap. They share a heartfelt conversation, and it's clear that a bond is forming between them. They decide to team up for the upcoming Phoenix Festa, setting the stage for some exciting battles in the future. Meanwhile, our ever-mysterious Claudia catches up with Silas and appears to have some not-so-friendly intentions. She's playing the long game, positioning herself to gain favors from Alicent. And guess who's been keeping a watchful eye on the whole affair? It's none other than Yabuki Aishiro, Ayato's roommate and a member of the Secretive Shadow Stars. As if that wasn't enough, we learn that the Alicent student who created Silas's formidable puppets has been observing the unfolding events, and it seems like her grand plan is coming to fruition. The stage is set for even more twists and turns in this action-packed tale of power and intrigue. Claudia Enfield takes center stage as she represents Senduken at a crucial meeting with other prestigious academies, including Lewolf, Alicent, Geelong, and Garrardworth. She's determined to forge a partnership between Senduken and Alicent to collaborate on developing a groundbreaking new Lux weapon. Among the representatives, Dirk Eberwain from Lewolf stands out as a prominent figure. Meanwhile, Ayato Imagery, in a rush to meet Julius Alexia van Riesfeld, inadvertently bumps into Tudo Kirin. They exchange apologies, but their pleasant conversation is interrupted by a mysterious man, causing Kirin to hurriedly depart from the scene. Julius is understandably frustrated when Ayato arrives slightly late for their meeting. Channeling that frustration, she challenges him to a practice duel. Julius nearly defeats him, but Ayato manages to withstand her fierce attack, narrowly avoiding defeat in the mock battle. Following their practice session, they discuss their strategy for the upcoming festival. Julius emphasizes the importance of secrecy and warns Ayato not to engage in unnecessary duels that might reveal his fighting style. She's particularly wary of formidable opponents like the Holy Knight from Garrardworth and last year's Lindworm Festa champion Ernesta Kuhn. As they converse, Kojizuka Yanan and Lender join them. Yanan expresses her disapproval of Julius monopolizing Ayato's time, leading to a heated exchange between the two. Ayato encounters Lester outside the hospital and engages in casual conversation. Claudia arrives with Ernesta Kuhn and Camilla Peredo from Alicent, who are engineers collaborating with Senduken on the new Lux weapon. Claudia reveals that Senduken and Alicent have entered into a technological partnership, likely as part of a deal related to the Celis incident. Ernesta's flirtatious behavior towards Ayato triggers Julius's anger, leading to a confrontation. Camilla Peredo adds fuel to the fire by insulting Dr. Sasamia's weapon, further intensifying the tension. Julius and both express their desire to team up with Ayato for the Phoenix Festa, leading to a comical tug-of-war for his attention. Later, Ayato discusses Alicent's research teams with his friend Yabuki Aishiro, and they overhear the sound of a slap. Investigating the commotion, they find Tudo Koichiro, Kirin's uncle, physically assaulting her for disagreeing with him. Ayato intervenes and condemns violence against women. Koichiro offers a compromise. If Ayato can win a duel and defeat Sir Veresta, he promises not to harm Kirin again. Ayato accepts the challenge not only out of concern for Kirin's dignity, but also to put an end to the violence. The duel between Ayato and Kirin begins, surprising Kirin with Ayato's extraordinary strength. Julius arrives at the scene, realizing that Ayato has defied her prohibition on dueling. As they watch the fight unfold, Aishiro informs Julius about Ayato's use of the lightning speed blade technique. The duel ends with Ayato's defeat when the time limit expires, and they discover that Kirin is Senduken's top-ranked student. The stage is set for further challenges and rivalries in the world of Lux battles. Tudo Koichiro, in a rare moment of candidness, once told Kirin that she had the willpower of a caffeinated sloth with the swordsmanship skills of a buttered toast flipper. He embarked on a mission to turn her into the numero uno student at Senduken Academy, and his secret plan involved convincing Kirin that she couldn't even navigate a maze with a map. After some dramatic persuasion, Kirin, looking like a sad puppy, reluctantly agreed. Then, out of nowhere, Julius Alexia van Riesfeld swooped in and threw a washcloth at Imagery Ayato's head. She was madder than a hornet with a stubbed toe because Ayato had tangoed with Kirin. She even threatened that if she had seen the mean uncle slap Kirin, she would have responded with a slapathon. Julius was also disappointed that Ayato lost the duel with Kirin. She claimed there were 3 people at Saidukin she couldn't defeat at her current level: Claudia, Tudo Kirin, and the cafeteria's mystery meat. Realizing that Ayato's skills were no longer a secret due to his public duel, Claudia and Tudo Kirin decided to revise their plans for the upcoming Festa, the school's big competition. Ayato then strolled into the student council's resting room, where Claudia was holding court. They were there for a discussion about a new school emblem, but Claudia couldn't resist spilling the tea on Tudo Kawachiru, who she described as a troublemaker with more schemes than a Bond villain. She revealed that he was using Kirin as a stepping stone to the boardroom. Ayato felt guilty for pushing Kirin into the fight. Claudia went on to explain that the Academy's executives underwent so many psychological adjustments to become selfless leaders that they practically qualified for sainthood. She knew this because her mom was one of those executives. Ayato left Claudia's company only to bump into Kirin on his way back to his dorm. She thanked him for protecting her from her dastardly uncle, and they bonded over sword techniques, realizing they had more in common than they thought. As their friendship blossomed, Kirin confided in Ayato that she was fighting to clear her father's name, and they decided to train together. However, Kirin couldn't agree to train with Julius and Ayato because her evil uncle had warned her to keep her abilities under wraps. Ayato dropped Kirin off at her dorm, and just as he thought the day couldn't get any crazier, Sasamiya Syed descended from a tree like a ninja and tried to strangle him. She made another pitch for Ayato to be her partner, but he politely declined, citing his partnership with Julius. Later at lunch, Julius confronted Ayato about his time with Tudo Kirin, but he assured her they were just training buddies. Meanwhile, Ernesta Kun and Camilla Perito, the Alican engineers working with Saidukin, schemed behind the scenes while observing a faction named Tenorio attempting to test new weaponry against Ayato. Little did they know, Ayato and Kirin were busy on their morning run, fending off miniature dragons. These dragons were the most confused creatures ever. They regrew limbs and fired weapons. Ayato and Kirin, with their newly acquired dragon fighting skills, decided that the best way to defeat them was to turn them into dragon puzzle pieces. As they did, the remaining dragons fled like cats in a room full of cucumbers. But then things took a wild turn. Ayato sensed the ground collapsing beneath him, and before he could say, "Dragon trouble," he and Kirin fell into the shadows, setting the stage for their next adventure in the land of mystery and dragons. Subscribe and stay tuned to know what happened next.